So I recently came across this clip of a man trying to speak, share the gospel at a pride parade in Reading, PA. Now, to be honest, from the clip, you can't really see all that happened. The clip isn't very close, so it's hard to really hear what's being communicated. But in one of the shots, you can kind of see when the police officer first approaches the man who is trying to speak. I believe the guy's name is Damon from some of the articles that I came across. Now, it sounds like the police officer says to him, "You don't have to say you don't care about them." Now, it sounds like the man in response, the man is being arrested. And to be clear, I don't think, regardless of what he was saying, I don't see why he should have been arrested for that. And as we continue on in the video, we'll see how the arrest seems to have been something that it just shouldn't have happened, right? So when the police officer approaches him, he says, "Hey, you don't have to say you don't care about them." It appears that Damon, the guy who's being arrested, responds with, "I don't." So when I first heard it, it kind of gave me pause. I'm like, all right, well, so what is he saying? Now, if he's just saying, if he's saying I don't to not saying that, right? Is he saying I don't to not saying I don't that I don't have to say I don't care about them, or is he saying that he doesn't care about them? Now, let's be gracious and say it's the first one, right? That he's saying maybe he doesn't have to say he doesn't care about them. The fact that he's out there trying to witness and share the gospel would seem to indicate that he does care about the people. He does care about their souls. Now, if it does turn out that he doesn't care about them, then you shouldn't have been out there. And that goes for all Christians. If you're a Christian and you're out there trying to share the gospel, you're not going out there with a heart filled with love. You're not out there trying to help these people know Jesus and ultimately receive salvation. Then you shouldn't be out there trying to tell people the message of the good news. Uh, let the gospel continue to work in your heart before you go out there to share it, if that is the case. Now, I think that for most Christians, that isn't the case. Now, it sounds like when he is getting arrested, it sounds like the verse he is trying to quote is God is not the author of confusion. There's a 1 Corinthians 14, verse 33 in the King James Version says, God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. And again, from the video, from what we can see in the clip, it doesn't appear that the man, Damon, did anything to warrant being arrested. He wasn't shouting, he wasn't shouting insults at the people, at least not from the clip that we see. And he doesn't seem like he was, stirring anything up. He was just trying to speak. And if that is the reason why he was being arrested, then that's just not right. Now, to make matters worse, the fact that a few days ago, the after I guess some investigation from the Reading police, and this is in PA, the charges were dropped. So that doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good for the police department in Reading. You arrested this man from what appears for no reason, considering that you dropped the charges. Now here's a quote from one of the articles I saw, and I believe this is the chief of police speaking. After review of the video of the incident, including body worn cameras and a review of the case law, we did not believe we could prove a criminal case of disorderly conduct. Now, one of the first statements that came out after the arrest was that he was arrested for being disorderly, but they walked it back pretty quick. So I don't know, it doesn't look good. Now, one of the guys that was out there um, before Damon went out to, or I guess, yeah, before Damon went out there to speak, this is the guy who filmed all this. He also says that the police officer, I guess, when they had an initial conversation, the police officer claimed to be a Christian. While this guy, I believe his name was Michael, well, Michael was out there, you know, trying to share the gospel before Damon came out. The police officer approached him, and this is what he said to him. He says, "If you don't stop shouting insults across the street, I will arrest you. Do you understand?" Now, we don't have a video clip of what happened before Damon got out there, or at least not that I came across. So perhaps he was shouting insults across the street, but just doesn't seem likely. Again, considering the fact that the cases were dropped pretty quickly in the other situation. So Michael responds, "I'm I'm concerned about their souls." And this is what the police officer replied with. Now, again, this police officer claimed to be a Christian, according to the video, according to the clip, or guess you don't really see it in the clip, but according to the guy who filmed the clip of Damon being arrested, this police officer responds with, "Well, get over it." So Michael says, "I'm concerned about their souls," and the police officer responds with, "Well, get over it." I mean, that's not very loving, just throwing it out there. Now, all this to say, right? We're not going to sit here and pretend that, we're not out here living under a rock. We're all aware that the track record for the church collectively, the church doesn't have a good record with how we've interacted. I'm part of the church. How we've interacted with the Pride community. The church, in a lot of cases, has not been very loving. Now that has changed more so recently, and I'm not talking about progressives here. I'm talking about people who are aligned with the Word of God, who are Bible believing Christians, have changed that approach. They are trying to be more loving as they reach out to this community. And that should have been the approach from the very beginning. This is the approach that we see Jesus take throughout the gospel. Therefore, we as his followers should be doing the same. And like I said, it's not a good track record. And if we're honest, that might be an understatement. Let's make sure that we continue to reach out to this community and to do so with love. John 14:6. And I want to make sure I emphasize this because this isn't a call for us to be out there and, you know, be all about love and all this. Look, Jesus is love, but Jesus is just. You know, Jesus is Jesus is King. So it's important that we go out there and we be loving, but that doesn't mean that we somehow soften the blow for the truth. Now we shouldn't, make it harder, but let's make sure that we balance it out. John 14:6 says, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. This is what we as Christians, this is what we want for people. Go ahead and hit that like button, share and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in.